Oh, here we go. Are we live?
We're live.
Oh, well, hello there. So, Slingshot June 2023. I think we've been a couple of days without a video, but here we go. We got a lot to talk about. Boy, we had great discussion last night about what was it that you brought up yesterday or last night about, over like taking a position and then overtaking that position. So not caring about what people think, not caring about what people think to so much that you really don't listen to people.
So I had this uh, connection that this not caring what other people think had turned into such a belief, and how I constructed even my communication, where I became less and less interested in other people's perspectives because I was pretty much turning off my connection with other people. And in a way that I realize now, I was isolating amongst people. So there's that balance in between, isolating, being now that I'm more in in love with who I am not as, I can feel as though I can dance with my own music, and other people can see me as crazy because they can't hear the music that I'm dancing to. But I'm not isolating myself. I'm wanting to have connection. And so there was that shift, just like aha. It was like, wow, I've been cutting myself off from from that connection of understanding and reaching out and having interest in other people's perspective.
So it's yeah, so it's like we take on a piece of growth, which we understand is we start to see how people influence us, and we gravitate to their beliefs, we gravitate to what they think. And so in the spiritual community or self-help or whatever else, we say, okay, screw that. I don't want to do that. And so then we go on a mission to go to get away from what people think. And we're like, I don't want to give people say, I don't want to give any shits, or I don't want to give a fuck, or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And and so what you recognized was that there was an overcorrection, and that's what we're working on, is getting to a harmonic balance of interdependency, where we're interdependent within the world, that all feedback is legitimate. But in order for you to realize, like, you had to take on, I'm not going to give any shits. So you were probably way over here, and that motto, or that um, expression, the thing that you wanted to test yourself with, took you over here.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, okay, wait, now I'm disconnected from all these people. But it's like, wait a minute, I don't need to be disconnected from all these people, because everybody is giving feedback. Everybody is giving feedback in the now of, like, what your trajectory is.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you were to continue to take this position and stay within this disposition, you're no longer in harmony, because you're trying to get to this calibrated point where you are interdependent with the world, and you're interdependent with all the relationships that you have, everyone, not just this, you got to get rid of toxic people out of your life, and those kind of narratives and stories. It's
Yeah.
a matter of living in a flow. And what you recognized was that was a piece where you had pulled too far this way, and it was just a matter of having an experience. It was something that occurred yesterday, and then instead of making it into a narrative, whatever, both of us just looked at it, because that's what we do for each other now. We're tethers for each other. And it's like, okay, I did what I did, you did what you did, okay, so now I'll deal with what I'm experiencing, and you deal with what you're experiencing. And that's what you figured out was. And so that what the tethering does is it creates that we're both looking for this harmonic point in the universe, which is interdependency, not the narcissism of the codependency, but the interdependent state of flow. And so being tethers for one another, that simply means that we will give each other really good feedback. Like, what were you thinking when you were saying this? Instead of getting caught up in stories about what were you supposed to do and what should you do and what should, you're a boy, so you should do this, and you're a girl, so you should do this, or we're whatever status. We don't look at it that way anymore. It's we're both doing this. We're both trying to get that harmonic state, and we use each other as honest feedback with each other, sincere, even better. So when emotional incidences come up where we both, that was kind of what happened without getting into details. It was we both kind of hit a point where patience wasn't there, neither one of us. And so there was this little barrage of emotion within both of us that was like, okay, I don't know what this is here, but I need to, we both were self important and we needed to take our trajectory and make the thing happen. And what we did, though, is both of us were able to let that go, and then we could feel into what was it that needed adjustment within us.
What was going on with you? What was going on with me? And just by sharing it, we then were able to have coherence, and so that
Right.
brought back into harmony without attaching into a story about you acting, speaking improperly, or me, not being very clear with my communication. So these types of things can be just little blips that you don't have to make into this big drama. And we all
Well, it's just you can blast through these things very
very
quickly
quickly.
when you are looking at it through the like adjusting the lens, and that's all we were doing was trying to figure out what story was taking us out of the lens, which story was pulling us out of the moment. And and then once you find that story, you found the story, and you were just like, okay, I went a little too far, I pulled over here, and shoosh, it's like I want to be back in flow. And it's just a matter of these nice little nudges, these, and not getting stuck in the stories that the emotions bring up. It's, it is just a quick adjustment, and then you just move on, and we're both happy, and there's no residuals. um yeah. So anyway, that was really good slingshotty material, and that kind of leads into this idea that we haven't really brought up in the slingshots that is going to be coming out soon, um which is this idea of tethering. And and it's another way of, well, let me take it from another point of view. Tethering. There's all these different ways that we've decided to like look at each other, interact with each other. We do it as she's a woman, I'm a man, so we do it this way. She does it like this, and blah blah blah. And that's one way to do it. There's the collective. There's a hierarchy of leadership, like the gurus, and the leader kind of way of looking at it. I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. So tethers. So what is a tether? So this is just shifting perspective. So in paradigm A, we have the hierarchy of value is based upon, either in spiritual, you have spiritual understandings, the most amount of concepts that you can regurgitate in a moment. And then there's like the guru who is, talks to the masses and teaches and blah blah blah. But paradigm B is different. In that paradigm B, the value is different. The value hierarchy is the balance on where you balance emotionally. And the way that we balance ourselves emotionally is based upon how we interact with feedback from the outside world. And so the idea of tethering is something different. It's a different way. It's like redesigning your mind to be in paradigm B, which is to to use the only thing I need to do as a tether is good give and do a stasis. And I'm going to be working to be at this balance point myself. And then if things like get funky and pull us out of that balance point, I'm going to help you. The way that I'm going to help you as you being a tether, or is that I'm going to give you really good feedback when something happens. It's like I'm just going to tell you how I feel and what I was experiencing, what thoughts came through me, as honestly as I possibly can, with not diving into or being a part of the narrative that maybe your emotional outburst would happen.
Mhm.
And this is such an exciting, completely new way to look at spiritual development, because that's exactly what Slingshots is about. Is if we all take, or if people sign up to do this tethering with each other rather than the way that we're doing it. I just read a post where somebody was saying that they're very young and they are really deep spiritually, but their boyfriend is not spiritual deep and they can't even understand what's going on. And it's like so there's just this narrative of one partner saying, well, I'm so spiritually deep and I can, and I can do this. And then you've got this other person that's just like, but I just want to keep going. I want to keep going out. And my point of view here is, don't look at it as you being spiritually deep. It's like you're wanting to say something. Go ahead.
Well, it's just to insert that a lot of us have been in our development, that it's a ladder that we're climbing.
Mm.
We're climbing a ladder to success. We're climbing a ladder of ascension. We're climbing ladders, and that's paradigm A. And paradigm B is you're not climbing a ladder anymore. It is a completely uh, different a different realm of being in your gyroscope, being balanced, being your little bubble, bumping into other bubbles, and or something like that. It's just a completely new way, and we're just kind of figuring it out as we go here. But this is a new way of understanding. It's not a ladder anymore, and that was just.
Yeah, and so like paradigm A psychology is fear of the narcissist, fear of the villain, fear of the codependent, and your esteem is built by, like you're saying, as this ladder of, oh, I'm so much bigger. If you ever talk to anybody that reads their first book about narcissism, they believe themselves to be, and I'm just making a generalization here to make a point, is they just believe themselves to be an expert on control psychology. They are so much above them. They know exactly who to look for as far as the villain is going on in the world. And and from that point of view, they're basically stunted. It's like arrested development. They will sit, and in every conversation they will find the narcissist. If they disagree with them, they're a narcissist. If and it's absolutely ridiculous. In paradigm B, the function is to calibrate our own psychology according to the flow and the interdependency of the world. So it isn't based upon, who's the narcissist, who's the codependent. It's how do I get to interdependency, not just between people, but we have a relationship with everything in this world. Like I remember I used to live in a house with lots of stairs. I just moved from that place. And I used to
Mhm.
like laugh at myself because I was like, I have a relationship with those stairs, and I had stories about the stairs, that, there were a few times where I missed a stair and coming down the stairs because they matched the floor. And and so I hit hard, got knee hurt or bumped into it, and it's like I remember saying I have to have I have a mental relationship going on with this inanimate object. And it's the same thing we have, and we are trying to get to in paradigm B, we're trying to get to an emotional psychological balance to calibrate our psychology according to this. In paradigm A, we are trying to calibrate our psychology as to not being the villain. We're constantly trying to determine that we're the good one, that we're the good, we figured it out, and they are the bad one. And it's a completely different paradigm. And that's what this tethering does. It gives us the opportunity instead of the old way of relating. So, what I would say to this person who was saying, I'm deep, is like, throw that out. Throw the I'm deep out. That because there's a reason that you're together with this boyfriend. That was my first question. It's like one thing you could look at is like, why are you together with this person? And I'm not saying it. I'm saying it is to look inside. What is what is the force, this attraction force that has you in relationship with this person? And my point of view is, as a from looking at it from a tether, would be to say, introduce this into your relationship. That I'm not asking you to be spiritually deep. I'm asking you just to give me good feedback so that I know what the hell's going on, so that I can get feedback from you. I'm constantly getting feedback so that I can adjust myself this way in the world and interdependency, rather than this way where I have a hierarchy of value based upon esteem. I'm talking about esteem is how you interrelate with other people. I'm so much better than everybody else. Self-esteem goes this way. Self-esteem is basically, it's not, you're not measuring yourself against anybody else. There is no I'm deeper than anybody else. It's I'm measuring myself purely on me. I'm getting my esteem from me. There's no measurement stool. I feel better because I outwitted, or I won the race. I did my best. And that's what brings me esteem. That's what brings me up. And so it's going this way rather than going this way.
Mhm.
So the idea of tethering, it also is so exciting because tethering gets rid of the insecurities. So a lot of people, light workers or want to be self-help people, they want to help people, but oftentimes they get stuck because they start to see how consciousness works. And so, I can easily relate to this when I started my consciousness, and then all of a sudden I started to out my unconscious. And then I would be really, really, like, I would have a big aha, and I was just like, I've got it. And now I can go out and tell everybody about it. And I'm just going to do this. And then I would get so excited, and I would create my workshops, and I would do this thing, and then I would just get hammered again. And with my silliness, I would uncover another piece of the unconscious, and I would just be like, shit, I'm not that far along. And then my insecurities would come in, and I'm like, I don't know if I can help anybody. And I don't know where I'm lying, and lying in relationship with people. Am I really qualified? Am I above other people to be able to give leadership to them? And so this idea of tethering throws all of that out the window. Because if you sign up to be a tether, what you're saying to anybody, if you're in the leadership, is you're saying, we're doing this together. We're no longer trying to measure ourselves this way. We're measuring ourselves this way. So we're both in this together. In that, I'm just going to give you really good feedback, and then you're going to give me really good feedback, and I'm going to adjust, and you're going to adjust according to that. And so it is basically saying, I'm humble, and I'm open to learning from you just as much as you're learning to be open for me.
Mhm.
So this came out of me. the saying is, you're moving through time. We're moving through time together. So here's a very simple formula: get help and be
Be
help.
help.
Get help and be
Be
help.
help.
So getting help simply means look for feedback. Sometimes you got to ask. Sometimes you got to say, I don't know this. I got to get some feedback from the outside world. Sometimes you go out and you look for that. And sometimes you could just look at it. And if you have a tether, you're asking, I want really good feedback. That's how you ask for feedback, is like, will you just be honest with me? This could hurt me, but I want you to just tell me what you're actually thinking. And you're saying, get help. Sometimes it's, I had to go to a counselor to get help. And that was a big step for me at that particular time in my life. That's a way you can get help. And it's like, you can always be asking for help, always being humble that there is a new piece of insight, always, that there is no enlightenment where you just know everything. And that it is, I don't it enlightenment simply is the lightness that I experience and we experience the world in. And so it's not this esoteric thing. It's like, literally, do you wake up in the morning and are your thoughts heavy, or are your thoughts, are they light? You wake up and maybe you've got a downturning thought, but spiritual growth would be like, oh, I can just transcend that real quick and I can be happy,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see it from a different lens, and I can move it. And the other part is, be help. Be the tether that can help other people. So whatever insights you have, whatever, that's what we're doing right now. We're sharing this personal thing that happened yesterday between us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sharing it as a way to be helpful to other people, to say, these are the things that happen in relationships, and it's okay. That's exactly what we want to happen in these relationships, because when you're going through it, you're kind of going, I don't want this to happen. And you're like, okay, but we have this. But then after a while, you're just like, all of a sudden, like, something emotional happens, and you're kind of like, there's an excitement, because it's like, oh, we have some emotion, because emotion brings contrast, which brings insight. We know that, oh, behind that emotion is coming an insight, not another downturn, an insight. And then we get to share it on these videos
Mm-hmm.
as well. You feel good about that one? That's good.
I do.
All right. So,
Being honest about giving that honest feedback, it does bring up that we have to be very honest with ourselves during this honest feedback. So sometimes for me, I will be giving James feedback, and through the feedback, I see where I had my own skewed perspective, and then having to admit that, both to myself but also to him. So there's this beautiful blooming of more uh, light, and on in our unconsciousness. It's like that's part of my own unconsciousness coming into the light, which means it's now conscious, because now I'm aware of it, and not just being aware of it, but also then sharing it. So there's a
again, yeah. So, yeah, that's very good. Like, the idea of consciousness seems to be like this really esoteric and abstract idea. Like, what is consciousness? And you get real deep and everything else. Consciousness is literally just being able to see things. It's literally, I am conscious that there is a camera in front of me. And what we are talking about is literal. It is literal in that, because we had that interaction with each other yesterday, that we can see more. We can see more. She can see more of the point of view inside of herself. I can see more the point of view inside of myself. And then what I recognize is that when we have these adjustments, it will bring more choice to the next moment. So as we're moving, we become more conscious. It's this constant, like, exponential opening of the world. And you're literally opening up choices and you're being able to see the world in a bigger way. And as an example, I just started thinking about and hadn't even occurred to me until I thought of the idea of having tethering be a part of being a parent. Like that you go into parenting because a lot of people go in and that they have no humility. They are they believe themselves to be the the ultimate parent that and then sometimes people go the other way and they believe the kid to be the parent, and they're just like, I'll just let the kid do whatever he wants, and on the other side they'll say, I'll tell the kid to do whatever they want. And so what's that, what could be that middle ground, or a different way to look at it is to say, hey, maybe my kid's got is bringing information from the other side because they're not as contaminated by the world yet. So how do I walk that? How do I walk this way? And it's like, be a tether. Can just say, I'm a tether. So I know a lot of things, but when I find things that I don't know, or when my behavior is being obviously bent because of my past, because of my trauma, because of all my things, it's like that's when you are humble and you say, that's the moment you can go to your kid and say, I'm sorry. Like I lost my temper. And this is what I realized. I was passing something that happened to me and I was passing it along to you.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't happen again. But if it does, I will tell you again. And basically you can't get it. You wouldn't be able to get a young child to sign up to be a tether,
Mm-hmm.
but you can model tethering to them. And then you can just say, this is the way we're doing this. We are going to be honest with each other and we are going to tell each other how we feel rather than saying that you should feel this way, forcing your feelings onto another human being and them forcing them onto you. It's like get rid of all of that and just model parenting as a tether. And yeah, so that just came through as so this again is this. So once this tethering came up, Chelsea started asking me questions. She says, so what is, I'm just like, I've just figured this grand thing out. And she's like, okay, how do you define it? And I was like, well, crap, like I'm not there yet, but I know that since it's been seeded within me in my consciousness and in our discussions, it is unraveling itself. And so this is part of Slingshots is if this feels good to you, you help bring this idea of tethering even deeper. This just reached over in parenting, even though I sort of did this in my parenting. If I had this idea like beforehand, that would have been like so much pressure off me. It's like, this is what I want to do. I want to be this thing. I want trying to calibrate myself this way instead of this. And
Mm-hmm.
in order to do that, it's like I have to be open for all the feedback to change me and get me into calibration with my own sense. And then by doing that, you're modeling for the child
Mm-hmm.
to to do that for themselves so that
Right.
they're like they know how to make choices
Mm-hmm.
for themselves. Because a lot of parents, that's we were talking about that young couple the other day, and they feel this pressure to live up to their parents point of view and the way that their parents see those kind of things,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like very heavy on their souls.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, let that go. And then maybe there's a way that we can tell people this, explain it. I don't do the narrative thing that you're doing. If you got into it, it's like, I don't do the story thing about what I'm supposed to be or who I'm supposed to be or how I'm be a friend. Like if you're saying you want to be a friend and you're upset that I'm not, you're saying I'm not a good friend. Okay. Okay. I understand that. But I don't know what your definition of being a friend is. So together we can work that out. It's like, what do you think that should happen? And then if they want to go into stories about what it is to be a friend, it's like, well, I'm not going to get involved in narratives about being a friend because I want to be an authentic friend to you. I want you to have somebody that's a tether, that's somebody that where I'm coming from, instead of like me changing the story of the narrative without you even knowing, and then all of a sudden I have the expectation that you are going to live up to whatever it is that I now think is you'd be a good friend if you did this. And and as I'm making these sounds, I'm making fun of myself for having done this in my life and recognizing that I did that in my life.
with with parent going back to the parenting, when we are having this kind of new mindset of being that tether for children, our children, we're also kind of recognizing that they're just tethers in the making, and so their feedback is just as important as anybody else's. And then we're modeling, so children learn from watching their parents. So there's this beautiful symbiosis that's going on between that relationship that doesn't have to be hierarchical. Again, going away from the latter position of I'm the authority, so you do, I'm the, you'll do as I brought you into this world and I can take you out. That whole mindset is part of paradigm name that we're leaving behind. And
Yeah, you're in that case, you're just trying to like wherever you fit within the hierarchy you found yourself. Most people aren't happy, but that's okay because they're not happy because they're defending this part of the hierarchy. They don't feel as if they can go up any higher. So they get here. This is as good as the world gets. So I have built this little encapsulated place for you to live. See it as I see it, or I will take you out.
mhm,
And that's that kind of paradigm A mentality. Whereas paradigm B is you're adjusting to find your place, your harmonic balance with calibrating your psychology to the now, to
being
the
in
world.
harmony.
Yeah, and then things like contentment and happiness. They're the result of it because you're not like why would you once you realize that you don't need to be messed up in all these hierarchical stories of what it is. I mean, that's all judgment is in paradigm A is judgment is just trying to figure out who's normal and who's not normal. Whereas paradigm B is saying that we're not doing that at all. I don't opinion such a low like opinion should just be like the funniest part of us. It should be the most ridiculous. It's a Mel Brooks movie. Is really what opinion should be. It should be a Mel Brooks movie, and being able to see that in ourselves. Whereas in this hierarchy, like we're taking this whatever this is, we're defending it. This little comfort zone that we found, and that's the interesting thing and the ironic thing is the people that even get into this and they're like, I'm successful in life. They're angry. They have the villains all out and they've got themselves in a place where they think that they're the hero. And the hero of the story is having a good time somewhere else. Um, they're just enjoying life. So yeah, I kind of want to hold it right there. What do you think?
I think that's good.
Okay.
I wanted to share the river poem
Okay.
by Cahill Gibran,
Okay.
or maybe that's better for another time.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, keep sending in if you have feedback. That's exactly what this is all about. This is super exciting, and we hope to get people excited on this as well because we are. Have a great day in the stream. And you know what we can be